Hi! Today's episode, we are going to talk about sex and some beliefs which are related to sex. In the episodes of Hack Your Sexuality, we are covering different topics related to sexuality. If you would like to refresh your mind what sexuality means, I recommend to check you the intro video. I'm Janika Ruska, sexual counselor who is also studying neuroscience. Today's episode, we are gonna talk about sex and some beliefs related to sex. Welcome to today's episode. I'm happy that step by step, the next thing what I'm gonna say is disappearing. The way of thinking how sex is. So, quite long it has been that sex is defined as a so-called warm-up, penetration and orgasm. Nowadays we are moving forward the way of thinking that it might include some of these, maybe all of these, but maybe none of these. So sex has nowadays way more wider definition than it used to be. So I would prefer just quit with the word warm up. Of course, if you want to use that, it's totally fine. But then we need to ask for what we are warming up. So, meaning that the warm up part is also defined as sex. For some, sex can include flirting already. For some, is the point when genitals are touched to each other. And there are a lot of things in between and probably around how you would like to define sex. But if I'm using the word warm up, I would use it prefer there that how to warm up your mind and then your body when you are kind of ready for any kind of intimacy. So what are the things which gets you aroused? So for example, there are different steps you might need to take. If you are having a really stressful day and you come from work back to home, is there something you need before anything else to get kind of more present, maybe more relaxed before you can get any thoughts about sex to your head? The things you might need can be walk in the nature, maybe having a long shower. Maybe you need some music you would like to listen. Or you might need some together time, maybe cooking, talking, massage. Something to get away from that stressful mindset. So the blog post related to this topic is again found from hackyoursexuality.com, and there I'm talking about water and fuel. So what are the things which lowers your arousal level and what are the things which will heighten it? There is one point what I'm also mentioning, and I want to mention it right now, right here, that these fuels, so the things which might get you more aroused, more into sex, doesn't need always happen on that exact point. Meaning that some of the so-called warm-ups, if we want to now use that word, could happen maybe during the week or during the day. They can be, for example, some nice text messages with your partner, or some words when you are leaving at work, or tiny touches there and there. So it's not that everything needs to happen exactly that moment. The kind of warming period can be longer. So there are kind of two warm-up points. The one which you might need to get rid of your stress levels, to get your mindset here and now. And then the next point, where are the things you may need to get more aroused. It's sadly often thought that the so-called warm-up time may take longer for another person than for another. So kind of spending too much time for warm-up before the actual sex. So maybe that is the point why we would like to put the warm-up and sex to one word. So that whole time is your sex, which is not performance. It's more like together time, to have fun, to enjoy, to learn from each other. So it is not warm-up, penetration and orgasm. It can have some of those. There is none of those. You know the best what you enjoy, and it's all about enjoyment. The other thing, what we hear quite often, is that someone would like to have more so-called spontaneous sex. But I would like to question that. What do you actually mean by spontaneous sex? Usually it means maybe something unplanned, which feels really wild. Something you wouldn't maybe thought earlier, and then suddenly you would like to do that. So I understand what is meant when people are saying that spontaneous sex is wanted. But then I want to also ask, is it actually spontaneous? Because in kind of unconscious level, we are noticing maybe some certain stuff in our environment which remind us about different things which are related to sex. So if I give an example, it might be that previous time you had a sex and there were maybe some certain lighting and some words used and some way of touching or some kind of kissing or some kind of smell. So when we start our day and we do things, we might sense things which remind us about that previous experience. And maybe we don't exactly focus for that these are the things which reminds us about the sex we had. But we are collecting these tiny things. And suddenly we might feel that, oh, I really want to have sex. And it doesn't need to be something you have experienced. It can be also that you have imagined something, kind of fantasies, and then you collect these tiny things. So when people are saying that they would like to have spontaneous sex, is that more like that you would like to have more passion in your sex life? And then we come to the really important question. What kind of sex do you enjoy? If you know from yourself that you would probably enjoy to have more sex, now you're feeling that, okay, I'm not feeling to that. Can you find the reason? Is there something which would make you to want to have it more? At this point, I want to remind that different things in life can affect that we are not always wanting as much as previously. We may have some really stressful situation in our lives, or we have maybe slept really poorly for a long time, our hormone levels in our body. So many things are affecting to that. And that's okay that these things are changing during our lives. But with all these things I said, I want to give you permission to stop and think again. Is there something you would like to have more? Some of these we are covering on the next episodes what are coming, but just an ideas. What might be the things which you are lacking? Or you would like to have just more? Is it that you would like to have some role games? Maybe dressing up? Some toys? How about your senses? What do you enjoy the most? Would you like to have maybe some sex dates where you actually reserve the point when you will have fun? It doesn't need to lead anything, but it can lead. That you have all the nice settings there. Meaning that you have reserved enough time, you have things you really enjoy there. These so-called sex dates can be also if you have noticed that you have hard time to say what you actually want, so you can decide that, okay, this day is for me and this day is for my partner. Of course, everything should be safe and agreed, so we will not break anyone's boundaries. But sometimes it might help that you have the permission to say what you would like to have. The thing what I want to say a million times, I will repeat it, that sex is not performance. It can be, if you want, if that's your fantasy, but it doesn't need to be. It's your time to explore the pleasure. And by your, I mean all people who are involved to that. So, the sex is not performance. And one thing to relate it to this is orgasm. What comes to orgasms, I would love to bring this new attitude there, that it's everyone's right to have an orgasm or multiple, but it's not the ultimate goal. So if someone is not feeling to get an orgasm, it doesn't mean that the person haven't enjoyed the sex. Also, one interesting point is that if orgasm is experienced, it doesn't need to mean that everything ends there. If you need a break and want to continue, that can also happen. So, even though it doesn't need to be so that everyone are experiencing orgasm, still I would like to keep the right there, that everyone has a right to have an orgasm. So maybe it could be the best that people are communicating before sex and during the sex, how they think about orgasms. I would say that communication, it's working everywhere. Also, what comes to sex. So communicating before sex, what you would like to have, what do you enjoy, what are the things you may not enjoy at all. Sometimes you don't know everything. Sometimes you might be after the sex feeling that, okay, that wasn't the best thing ever. It's really important to take care of your limits, not cross them. But sometimes there might happen things which are not the best things. So how to communicate about these things? Straight after sex is usually really sensitive time to talk about things. But sometimes it might be nice to say that I really enjoyed that. So instead of pointing out immediately what you didn't like, it could be that, oh, I enjoyed when you touched me there. So from here you might feel that, okay, I don't like to communicate straight after sex. And that is one thing to communicate. So how you would like to communicate, you can talk about that too. So now when we know that sex doesn't need to end to an orgasm, when the sex ends then, the answer is whenever you want, whenever you feel so. Sometimes it might be that now I'm getting thirsty or tired or something else. You need to go to toilet. It can end there if you want. It doesn't need to end there. It's all about communication. And that it is not performance. So today we learned that sex is pretty wide concept. And it doesn't mean same thing for every people. To know what we are talking about, we need to talk about it. It's really good to talk before sex, what you like and what you don't. Some of the things you may not know. You can talk what to say, maybe middle of the sex, if you are not sure if you like something. And even though you know that you may like some of the things with some other person, it might feel that, okay, this is not the thing for us. So it's all about that you explore how the things will go between you. You can also think, what are the things you need before having sex? What are the things you need to get out from your stress zone? And then what are the things you really enjoy? Do you want to have some certain kind of environment? These things we will cover more in future episodes. So I would say that sex is exploring things you all enjoy. take care of safety and that everything is agreed. It's okay to end the sex whenever you want. Every time it doesn't need to be mind-blowing, but you can think, what are the things you would like to have more? Easy way to communicate about sex is telling what are the things you enjoy. And if you feel weird or scared to give any instructions how to do things, I want to remind that we can't read anyone's mind. And we have different things we enjoy. So it's totally fine to tell the things we enjoy. That's all about today's episode. If you didn't take any notes and you would like to have something written, you can check the webpage called HYSsexuality.com and find the article there. See you on next time.